It should tell you that I don't look too terrible today. Why do you got an Indians shirt on? It's Browns.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, fuck it. You got your entire Browns room, so you can do whatever.
I knew you were for that too. I was saving the Baker jersey for the Baker episode.
So. Yeah, Baker episode coming up soon. Welcome to the Browns Out of Town podcast inaugural episode. I'm Ray Roberts. I'm joined by social media rock star and IT to the pizza people, Jimmy Crawford. How you doing, James?
Doing all right. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because basically the whole idea of this podcast, I have other stupid podcasts. I have my stupid comedy thing. But the first episode's kind of a lie because it is Browns Out of Town and I'm still in Ohio right now, but that's just until Wednesday. So by the time this comes out, it won't be a lie, but I feel like everybody should know that I'm still in Ohio for this one. So I still feel close to the heart of Ohio.
The precursor, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got to do as much as we can before I move. Like, it'll be good to get it out of the way with. But the idea behind this podcast is I am moving out of the state for the first time in 30 years, so that'll be cool. I am a late adopter to the Browns because when I was growing up, we didn't have the Browns, so I was a Packers fan. And I lived in, like, where Jimmy lives now in the Toledo area. So you had the Lions, you had the Steelers, you could maybe grab the Bears. Like my sister's a Bears fan, but I just picked the Packers because Brett Favre was awesome at the time. And then you move to the Cleveland area and start going to games. The Browns are terrible still, but you go to the games, you fall in love with the city, you fall in love with games. Yeah, like you go there, like it's one of those things where you go to a game and you just fall in love with who you're closest to. So I don't want to move back to Wisconsin or move to Wisconsin and then be like a new age Packers fan because they're going to be terrible in a couple years too. And I don't want to be like, oh, they're basically the new Browns.
Yeah, this could be A-Rod's last year for all we know. But
maybe. We're both big fans of the Pat McAfee show, so we know that that's going to be like if we accidentally rip something off from them, that's just on accident because that's all I watch.
Yeah.
But
I was going to grill you on being a Packers fan in future episodes and do some old school Browns trivia and see how well you do. But
that's a good segment. We should do that though. Because
it's fitting that you are moving to Wisconsin and you're not going to be a Packers fan now.
I know it's really weird. Like that would be too easy. Like I'm afraid that like the guy from Ohio being the Browns fan is going to be my entire identity to a bunch of people in Wisconsin.
Yeah, everybody you meet now, that's just you're the Browns guy. Yeah.
No, this is Ray. He's from Cleveland. When I've never lived in Cleveland, like it's going to be, but whatever.
I get that. I tell people I'm from Youngstown, but I'm not. It's just the closest thing. But people still say, hey, you're from Cleveland, right? No, I'm not, but close enough, I guess.
Well, it's real weird because it'll be like I grew up like near Toledo, and then I live outside of Akron, and I kind of live close to Cleveland. So now it's just going to be like I'm just going to tell people I'm from Ohio and let them figure it out because nobody gives a fuck anyways. Yeah. That leads us to another thing. We will be swearing on this podcast. Not a lot, but it's just going to slide out because who cares? So if you have children, just so you know, we are Browns fans, and dealing with bad words is how we deal with our shame. So please be forgiving of that. I'd be remiss if I don't hit the social media on everything at Browns Out of Town. It's in my stupid corner in one of the two. I don't know which way it'll show in mirroring. I have it up there. So that's Instagram, Twitter. We'll get YouTube eventually once I get this mixed and put together. That'll be cool. And then the biggest thing, please rate, review, subscribe to it. We go through Anchor. So in all of our social media, make sure there's a link right to it. Jimmy did a really good job of putting that on there. You can go to the Anchor page. There's also a support tab on there. If you think that it's pretty low tech right now, wait until nobody gives us money for this. So give us a couple bucks. If 100 people give us $5, that's $500. We can make this better. And that's cool because we're going to Wisconsin with no job, so we want to have money to put this in there.
Raise resources will diminish quickly.
Yes, I'm actually, this is the most financially stable I've ever been, and I have no job for the last 3 weeks, and it's very strange. Like usually it's like, fuck it, I'll quit work and then we'll figure it out. And it was like, oh, I have all this money, I can quit work early and then find a job once I get up there. So that was kind of cool. Being 30 is way more fun that way. Anything else that we need to hit, James, that I forgot?
I think you got it.
Cool. Oh yeah, so we have a document. If anybody is a fan of my other podcast, Class Dinner Podcast, I'm actually planning this podcast instead of just going in there and swinging. So if you see me reading, it's because I'm reading from our doc of prepared stuff because I wanted to be prepared and I wanted to sound semi-smart. And that's one of the things I forgot. Any betting odds that we do, we're going to do through FanDuel because that'd be really cool if they sponsored us at some point. If you want to be a betting website and want us to use all your odds, give us money and we'll do that. And then it's not legal in either of the.
Yeah.
What's that?
So we're not tied down to anything.
Yeah. I mean, give us the most money, but FanDuel's the easiest one to do for free. And then. Yeah, and then since Pro Football Focus or whatever is expensive to use for the stats that I wanted, I used, it's in here, Pro Football Reference. So it's an offshoot site, but all the same stats because men lie, women lie, numbers don't, and that's the one we're going to use for that. So you can fact check us on that. If you go to a different site and it uses a different kind of stat, get a life because you're fact checking two dudes with a podcast on Zoom with a shoestring budget. So let's start this one. Yeah, go ahead.
I said with 20 Instagram followers too. Yeah.
Hell yeah, 20. That's not bad for starting the page a few days ago, and we don't have an episode up yet. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, I mean, my other podcast one has maybe 35, 40, and I've been doing that for 6 months and have had a dozen or so episodes. But offseason recap, that's going to be today. Browns hired new head coach, new defensive coordinator, new GM, brought in a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, but a good handful of new players through free agency and through trades and through the draft. So we're going to touch on a bunch of that. We'll hit Andrew Berry, the GM. He's important, but I think what we learned last season is that the GM is not as important as the head coach on what's going on because the Browns don't give a fuck about the GM and will just toss them away whenever they want. So do you have a problem with starting with the coach?
Go for it.
All right, Kevin Stefanski, old offensive coordinator for the Vikings. So he's only been doing that for a few years, a couple years.
Not even a few years. Last year was his first year as an OC.
But I mean, it was a full season,
right?
Rather than Freddie Kitchens doing 4 games.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was like a season and a half because he did the same thing Freddie did. He had basically the same career path. Yeah.
I mean, loosely because Freddie went from running backs coach to offensive coordinator for half a season to head coach instead of head.
So he had an extra year on Freddie. Yeah.
True. And that's kind of, I looked at last season for the Vikings. It turned out to be, because, I mean, they're both new-ish in, like, systems and running teams and leadership and all that stuff. So I wanted to look at, like, their first years as how they kind of handled the team. And the Vikings, after you look through all the numbers and look at all their stat lines, like, it's almost comes down to the scheme made the Vikings. And that's kind of a big deal. So you don't know if that's Zimmer's scheme or if that's Stefanski 100%. But with a team of Kirk Cousins, Cook, Thielen, they went 10-6 with a middle of the range defense, where the Browns, with all the talent in the world, but no leadership, no idea of what the hell they're doing on the offensive side of the ball, or really defensive, went 6-10. So it was really a mirrored season on that. And I'm excited to see if that is a a strategy thing, if it's the scheme that Stefanski's going to put in, because like I really, from looking at our roster, I thought McDaniels from New England would have been the best choice for the way our offense is set up. And then they bring this cat in with a year and a half of experience as an OC,
Right.
but then you dig into it and you look at um, like how everything was run, and it might not be a terrible idea.
Yeah. I'm excited for Stefanski. I wasn't on board with them hiring him last year, and I mean, admittedly, I was a Freddie fan. I kind of regret that at this point, obviously, like everybody else does. But I
Everybody
think,
loved him though. Like it
yeah,
was, I mean, that
people
was
loved
like
him,
we
but
could have
he
found
was
a
a
bad take to share for everybody on Freddie Kitchens. We're like,
yeah,
we
exactly.
like an inexperienced guy.
It doesn't change that he was adult. Like
Yeah, he's a big
everybody
dummy.
yeah, everybody loved him because he was giving Baker shit on the sideline, like tucking his chin in and picking on him or whatever. But and Baker calls him an idiot. They love the relationship he had with Baker, but he was shit everywhere else. So
They could have like at least just made him Baker's best friend. Like hire him to be Baker's best friend and get like an adult to like run the team.
yeah, I think he would have done a lot better as OC under somebody else. But
Well, the
we won't.
rumor that I heard was from all season is like since he would be calling the plays, like he wouldn't give up play calling,
Yeah,
and the OC would put in like the new
Pumpkin.
yeah, they would put in the new system, but they would practice it the whole week, and then like last minute Freddie would come in and just like call completely different than what they'd
Yeah,
practiced all week.
yeah. Because they always did relatively well on their first opening drive because it was scripted, and then
Yes.
after that, everything just went nuts because Freddie panicked or something. But
I have never seen a single person worse with the play clock and with
oh,
clock management than Freddie
time
Kitchen.
management was terrible. Yeah,
Like I thought Hugh Jackson was bad, and I mean, it's kind of like with and I did grow up political and did political stuff. So if you like Donald Trump, I mean, first of all, go fuck yourself. Second of all, um, it's like when we thought George W. Bush was bad, and then Donald Trump showed up, and then we're like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, but so Hugh Jackson is our George W. Bush. Like he was the worst until like last week, and then Freddie comes and was like, he's just a lovable idiot. But
yeah.
Hugh Jackson's
It
still
was
the
cute.
worst coach in the Browns history.
Yeah, yeah. It was a cute story.
Yeah, it was
Cute.
fun. It was fun for a
Family.
season.
Yeah,
It'll be good for the history books.
yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for Stefanski. I think he won't be a buddy guy with the team, but he seems like a smart guy. And as long as he actually plays to Baker's strengths and doesn't try to run trick plays every other play like Freddie did in some instances, I
Like the
think
trick
it'll.
plays were cool for like and that's the I think everybody fell in love with the short season of there was
Yeah.
nothing to lose, so they're like fuck it, let's go for it. And
Oh
then
yeah.
you can't have a whole
Long 18.
season of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the stats that I found. I mean, we'll go. I mean, there's a good Baker versus Kirk Cousins kind of mirror that we're gonna do in a future episode on Baker Mayfield because I think it makes sense. But last year for the Vikings under Stefanski, they were eighth in team scoring in the league and sixth in scoring percentage, where they would score on just under 42% of the possessions that they had. Despite, and this is the big thing for me because I think like Baker's good with the home run ball, and like I think they just need to hammer that short stuff. Like the Vikings had the 30th team ranked in passing attempts, so it's like a smaller pass attempts, smaller amount of passing attempts because they've got a workhorse back, and they can work everything through play action pass with Chubb instead of just putting everything on Baker's shoulders like Freddie did for no reason. And then the other big thing that they had was they had the fifth ranked team in field possession, but only had that mid ranked defense. So, I mean, that's going to be a big, I think. And again, does that go to Stefanski or does that go to Zimmer overall? Like, since it's a big team thing, but like I think the stat was like the Vikings had the 15th ranked defense. The Browns were somewhere around there. They weren't like completely trash. Um,
Yeah.
but they're going to be like they were the 30th ranked in the average pass attempts. So like they were passing less than everybody else, but they still had one of the top offenses. And when you look at Nick Chubb in the backfield. You look at Kareem Hunt in the backfield, souped up offensive line. Like that seems like a good idea to work everything through it instead of putting everything on your third-year quarterback who's coming off of arguably one of the worst seasons you can have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the Vikings are a good a goal for the Browns to reach. You know, they're kind of the same team, just the Vikings are a little bit better and better coached, obviously, compared to last year. I think that 10-6 is a good a good marker to look at. You know, they have relatively the same talent at quarterback with Baker compared to Kirk Cousins, but
Do you think
the
that's
Browns
true? And I mean, we'll do our Baker episode, but
right.
like Kirk Cousins to me, when I
I don't think
broke
he's
down the
great.
stats in
I
there,
mean,
I don't know if you looked at it, but like they have pretty similar stats over the last
yeah,
2 years, and that's Baker in 2 years versus Kirk Cousins having 7 or 8 years.
yeah. I'm not relatively similar talent wise right now based off
Okay.
of what they have done in the past and all that too, but I definitely think Baker has more potential. But I would be happy, is what I'm saying, if he played like Kirk Cousins did this year coming up.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I
with
mean? Like
what,
I think
4 interceptions instead of
right,
17 or
exactly.
whatever it was.
That's He's not. You're not saying he's going to be the next Russell Wilson or anything like that. But if he plays like Kirk Cousins this year, that's great with me. You know, compared to especially with what the Vikings did last year. I mean, they made the playoffs. They went 10-6. They didn't do anything in the playoffs, but it's better than what it was. It's better than what we did last year. So
Hey, if the Browns make the playoffs, and that's
yeah,
another segment we got lower down, like I mean, in the AFC North, because I mean the NFC North where the Vikings are at is, I don't want to say a mirror because the Bears were trash, the Lions were trash, but I mean you have to go through the
right.
Packers every year,
Yeah,
and they still made it with 10-6. I mean it's a pretty good, it's a pretty good mirror to it, and I
yeah.
think I mean you got to stop Lamar Jackson and Ben Roethlisberger's 1,000 years old and coming off of fucking Tommy John, but he's
He'll
still Ben
probably be great.
Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
They'll
so
probably
you're
end up
looking at
winning.
third in the North, and then you got to somehow get around that. And I think ball control, running the ball, play action, short routes, hitting the home run every once in a while is a
Yeah,
good way to do it. And that's almost why I wanted Josh McDaniel, is because that's what New England does, and like that's what you had everything set up by. But you also look at when he ran the Broncos, and you look at like stuff like that. Like he didn't really do anything
yeah.
different. Like that's almost like it's Belichick's offense, where that's where I'm excited to see if it's Stefanski's offense or it's Zimmer's offense, and he's just borrowing it. Like I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I'm glad we got Stefanski over McDaniels. I think that McDaniels would be, one of those offensive guys that doesn't touch defense at all, and I'm not saying that Stefanski won't do that, but he definitely seems more of a team manager or as a head coach than rather like an offensive specialist or a defensive specialist. I think he can focus on the entire organization instead of where McDaniels would just be, Baker Mayfield's my priority right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In today's NFL though, like you almost kind of need to run everything through the offense, but I
Yeah.
like, and after looking at all the numbers and everything and making the comparisons and not being fucking Todd McShay or anything like that, like looking at it, I mean, we can be in a couple weeks, but week one, I'm not going to come out and say I'm better than Todd
Yeah.
McShay.
Yeah. The
But
ball
like
roll.
looking at it, Stefanski's a good hire. Like he's a good guy. He seems chill. Especially like this summer, like it. Could you imagine having Freddie Kitchens or Hugh Jackson with any of this stuff that's happened this summer, like
Oh,
with the COVID
no.
stuff and doing all the
Yeah.
online
Can you
classes?
imagine like John Dorsey trying to do like a Zoom call? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like Andrew Barry's. He's what, 33, 32,
He's
33.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Like, and we'll get to him soon. I don't know if he's gonna be just like a face for Jonah Hill running our team or what, but we'll figure that out. But I didn't look up the new offensive coordinator because I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because the head coach is going to be, he's going to run the offense because it's the NFL in 2020, so the offensive
Yeah.
coordinator is just going to hang
There's a
out.
reason they're paying him. Yeah.
But defense, I got excited after looking at it. Joe Woods, um, because I mean, you just look at it and it just piles up quick. It's the middle of the summer. You don't really pay attention. You see Kevin Stefanski, you see Andrew Berry, and then you're like, all right, who's running the defense now? Real sexy pick with Joe Woods coming off. He ran the special team, or not special team, secondary coach for the 49ers. So he worked with some like legit players. They had, what's the stupid stats that I had on it? Defensive back coach and passing game coordinator, sixth in turnover percentage, which I think with our young defensive backs, that's going to be a huge thing. First in passing yards against, first in net yards per pass attempt in the league. That's going to be a big thing. I just want to see how the rest of the defense is going to work around that. Because I mean, we've got a lot of good young secondary players. So you want somebody who knows what they're doing, has worked with a lot of good people. But again, they're young. They were hurt all last season. Somehow every cornerback was hurt at the same time last season. It's almost like they knew something we didn't know.
Yeah.
But they're coming back. We'll hit the pass rush here in a minute, but with the defensive backs, I think that would be huge to have somebody like that getting Greedy Williams, getting everybody else locked in on an actual scheme.
Yeah. I think we have a really good secondary as long as everybody stays healthy. That's the problem with last year. It was just so defeating, watching everybody go down like flies. But
And they still didn't do, like, it wasn't really that terrible.
Yeah, they weren't getting blown up or anything, but it's just like, come on,
Until Miles tried to kill Mason Rudolph, like, we didn't, like, the defense was still in the game, but after he was done, like, it was just like, all right, the season's over now. Like, we don't have a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of the comparison I want to make is Bosa to Myles Garrett. Like, Bosa's like sexier, he's quicker in there, but Myles Garrett they're gonna sign him to the mega deal soon. Like, give him a piece of the team so he doesn't go anywhere else.
Piece of the team.
Yeah, give him just a percent of the team. Make him the owner instead of the Haslams. Like, he can't be any worse. So,
good, yeah.
What was that?
Said he's a smart kid. He could do it.
Oh yeah, he could write a poem about it. Like, he could, like, he'll knock it out. He I was gonna like reach out to him. I'll reach out to him. Hey, for the Myles Garrett episode, I'm gonna reach out to Myles Garrett and see if he wants to come on, because that's something he would want to do. Like, he came to the fucking Stowe Dog Park that's over by my house, like, just to like hang out with dogs one day.
Wasn't that on like 105? The blacktop temperature was like 200 degrees.
Yeah, I think he was like, hey, I'm going to be there with my dog, but please don't like be too close and be crazy and bring your dog if they're not healthy. And like, that's just a smart thing to do. Like, he must have been getting paid for somebody, but he's just like, hey, don't come if it's too hot for him, which is cool.
Yeah.
But having him as the edge rusher, couple decent linebackers. Who is the new one we brought in? Did we bring in a newer, younger one?
No, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. But we have some, young talent on the linebacker court.
We lost Schobert. That's what I was thinking of.
But I think Mac Wilson's going to take over that role. I think he's the future anyway. That's why I wasn't that upset to lose Schobert. I mean, obviously, I'd rather have him, but
I'd rather have both than.
I like Mac Wilson a lot.
So do I. Everybody likes Mac Wilson, but Schobert, for whatever reason, that fucking dumb dude knew where the ball was going to be every single time the ball was snapped. Yeah. It made no sense.
Yeah, I'd like to have, Schobert one more year because I think Mac learned a lot from him, and he's going to be missed. But I think this is going to be a good year for Mac Wilson. For sure.
I think it's going to be a good year overall for the defense, just because they'll have another year to gel. And I mean, they're not going to reinvent the wheel on defense. Yeah. Like, they're going to run close to the same scheme. Yeah. They just might have some direction. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like nothing against the cat from what was it, Wilkes? Nothing against him. Like, I feel bad for Munkett and Wilkes because they got buried under a bad head coach.
Right.
But like, his defensive scheme seemed decent, but like, you could see that there was not really, like, I think leadership was a big problem last year, because as soon as Miles went down, the rest of the defense was just like, all right, we're done. Like, we're going to be here. We're going to try not to have him score. But I think having him there, and then possibly once we hit the free agent part of our section today, another big name would be a huge thing to help our defense there. Or we can hit it if we want now, since we tease it on the Instagrams. If we got
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, I mean, get out. We're done.
Yeah. The problem is Vernon. We got to get rid of Vernon. He didn't pan out, like we thought he would. He wasn't the distraction that Miles needed to get open, and he didn't take any of the pressure off of him. But
I mean, that was
Vernon,
season 1 as well, and he was hurt. So, I mean, you can't –
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to have depth there. Like, you don't want to get rid of him. I don't think he's costing us much.
He already cost us a lot in the trade. That's the problem.
Well, that's true.
No.
I mean, but like we filled the offensive line. Like that was just a bad idea. I mean, we needed OBJ, and they made it into like a whole thing. Like we needed him.
Yeah.
But like we needed a fucking all-pro guard more than we needed a wide receiver last year, and a defensive end that was hurt most of the season.
Yeah.
But if we put Clowney in there and they run some sort of like weird like.
I don't know how if you're Clowney. I mean, is it just because it's Cleveland that he doesn't want it? Like I think 1 year for $15 million to get back on the horse and show what you can do is a great idea. If not to get a bigger contract next year.
Well, I mean 1 year 15. Is it 15 guaranteed as well? Like it's not like
I don't know the details of it, but you have to think like the conversation is how great would Myles Garrett be next to Jadeveon Clowney, but you also have to think about it. How great is Jadeveon Clowney going to be next to Myles Garrett?
That's the one, because who do you block?
There's one of those guys is going to get fed every week.
It almost looks like, again, not to bring it back to like Pat McAfee and the Colts, but like it's almost like an old Colts defense where you have like Dwight Freeney,
Dwight Freeney,
on the other side there, and it's like, who are you going to block? You only have so many people, and then the idea of Vernon, anyways, was that he could be a drop back defensive end too. So like if you can have all three of them on the field and drop someone back in pass coverage too, and you're good.
I think if Clowney does end up coming, that they do get rid of Vernon somehow. But
they could trade him. I mean, we could use the money. We could use picks. I mean, we could always use another wide receiver.
Have all on the field, but who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Yeah. And then where are we at here?
Hooper.
We might as well just go into the free agency since we already hit Jadeveon Clowney. Austin Hooper, what is up with that? Is it just that he was available? I know he's real good, but you got another young tight end. You have an offense that hasn't worked through the tight end very much.
Yeah. I mean, it's running that 2 tight end set. Stefanski likes the 12 personnel sets, so he likes to have multiple tight ends on the field at the same time. And I think what was the other guy that they brought in last year from Kansas City? It was Dorsey's guy. He had a pretty good season, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they start purging some of Dorsey's guys, and if you're going to replace him with Austin Hooper, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, they paid a good amount of money for a tight end, and I mean, he's not Gronk. He's not like the dude from the 49ers. Like he's not Travis Kelce. Like he's a good tight end. Like the numbers show that he's great, but he also has Matt Ryan throwing to him, and they just throw for 1,000 yards a game.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But when do you get rid of Njoku then? Like, is this like his last leg season? Because I mean, he's automatically number 2 now, right? Like he can't.
Yeah. I would think this could be a make or break season for Njoku, just based off of injuries, because he hasn't been on the field.
And I mean, he doesn't. I've been underwhelmed by him a little bit. I mean, injuries is one thing, but I mean, drop balls is another.
He's got stone hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got 2 of the hardest. I mean, I know tight end room and wide receiver room's different, but you've got Jarvis Landry, who doesn't drop a ball. Odell Beckham can catch the ball 17 yards out of bounds and somehow get his feet in. Like, how do you not just sit down with them and be like, all right, what are you guys doing that the ball touches your hands?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it. Other thing. So we already hit Clowney, Austin Hooper, Cam Newton. Why have we not signed Cam Newton yet?
You want to sign Cam Newton?
Why wouldn't we sign Cam Newton?
We don't need him.
Why?
I think it's too much of a distraction.
I think it's perfect. I think it's a good thing. Another like Clowney, give him a year. uh, couple bucks because we got Garrett Gilbert as the backup
Yeah.
right now.
No,
Make Baker earn it.
we have we have what's his face? Case Keenum is the
Oh
backup.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Case Keenum or Cam Newton on your
I
roster?
don't want Cam Newton because the second, Baker throws an interception week 1 and social media turns into put Cam Newton in, like get rid of
Let's
Baker. I don't
let's be honest. It's Cleveland. They're gonna pick Baker over a black quarterback anytime. Like,
I don't know. I I disagree. I think there would be riots in the street for Cam Newton to start if Baker starts out bad. And I don't think we need that distraction.
but to me, the other thing, and we haven't hit like really much of the COVID thing, anyways. It doesn't hurt to. I honestly think, especially you looked at the Jets last season. I wanted to call it the Sam Darnold rule. That you should have another starting caliber quarterback on your team because he had mono and then their just whole season was tanked. Like they started with like a
Yeah.
pretty promising season and then it was just done when he got it. Like it
That
doesn't
is
hurt to
a
have
good
him in this
point.
background.
That is something I would consider, I suppose, if COVID were to take over and we needed somebody. But he's honestly he's probably going to be there come opening season. You know, unless something happens with Dak and the Cowboys and he doesn't end up signing, I think Cam goes to Dallas. But that's the only team I see him going to right now. I don't think the Patriots will sign him.
I don't think the Patriots sign him because that's for sure too much of a distraction for that team because they
Yeah,
want to ride with Stidham. I think it's a good idea just to like worst comes to worst, convince him that he needs to rehab for another few games into the season, make sure he gets the system under his belt, all that good stuff. Like that buys you a few games. If
yeah,
if, if the season's going gangbusters, you have trade bait. We've got the money. That's the other big thing is we've got the money to figure that out. Like he's a smart quarterback who's been in the league for a long time. He was an MVP. He's been to the Super Bowl. Like it doesn't hurt to have that on your team. And worst comes to worst, I mean, Baker's on the third year of his it's 4 years for your rookie deal, anyways. So you have somebody just in case he doesn't work out. Not to be the Cleveland guy too much and
the
look towards.
problem is though you're not going to have him because you're only going to sign him to 1 year this year. You know what I mean? Like if you do sign Cam Newton, it's for a 1 year deal.
Yeah, I think it's worth a flyer on just in case. I mean, unless Baker's like I don't want him here, period. But I honestly think like I know the comparisons to Manziel are there for some people, but like for whatever reason, everybody wants to give Baker like they'll give him 20 years to figure it out. Like I don't know if he'll stay here the whole time, but like they'll let him figure it out for the whole time. And I think your Russell Wilson uh, comp is pretty good. Like sure he's not going to win a Super Bowl in his third or fourth year more than likely, but like Russell Wilson hasn't really done too much over the last few years since the Super Bowl. Like he's good and he's fun and he's good to look at, but like you can like he's a game manager quarterback who's not going to make mistakes. Like that's what we want because we'll have the rest of the people around him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to have solidarity at the quarterback position. You can't, and that's what Russell Wilson is. He's solid. You're not going to doubt what he can do week by week.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think Cam Newton's a good idea, and I mean, he's throwing balls to OBJ. It'd make Odell happy.
Yeah.
And who do we need to
Yeah.
keep in town more, Baker Mayfield or Odell Beckham?
I don't know. Either one of them could leave any minute. To me, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, and that's another thing that I have. We'll jump around a little bit. Is like when are we gonna stop being patient with the talent on this team? Like it's only really year 2.5, 3 of them being together. Odell was only here last year, but they were hurt. The offensive line was trash. Miles was out a little bit over halfway through the season. Like they haven't had time to gel. But in all reality, how long does this team stay together? Like with Cleveland culture of how long is Odell Beckham going to stay in Cleveland, Ohio under his deal? How long is Jarvis going to stay? Is he going to resign? Is Baker Mayfield, who can go anywhere else and make 3 times as much money, with deals and stuff like that. How long is he going to stay? I mean, since he's only got a couple years left on the deal, like when do we have to start looking at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year, next year are the big focal points in that conversation. I would hate for them to go, 4-12 this year, 5-11, and then get rid of Stefanski. I don't think you can do that, but it really does depend on what happens this year, next year.
I think Stefanski's safe this year, regardless. I think the
I hope
whole
so.
NFL's safe. I mean, with the virus going around, like honestly, we don't
Yeah,
know like
bit of a
how
handicap.
useful the online meetings are. It's his first year, so it takes time to gel. Anyways, can't gel over online meetings. Training
Yeah,
camp's supposed to happen the 28th. That's a month from now. Like
no OTAs, no rookie mini camps, nothing. Yeah,
yeah, the world could fall apart in the next month the way everything's going, and the season could not happen. It's going to happen, but like the season could not happen. And so you almost get a pass, but then what does that do to the team? What does that do to like everybody gelling together and like
yeah.
his tenure?
We'll see. It's gonna be interesting.
It's going to be fun. We'll hit offensive line real quick. So brought Jack Conklin in from Tennessee, brought Jedrick Wills in through the draft. Uh, Jedrick Wills, is he going to start this season? I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
think he
huge.
does.
You think he
I
does?
I think he does. I think he's better than what we have at left tackle already. It sucks that he doesn't have the like the time to practice with the mini camps and all that stuff. But I think he's a big kid, man. I think he's talented.
I think so too. The only I think it was what 6'4", 310 is what I got in there, is what
Yeah,
he's listed at. 6'4", 340. Sorry, my bad. Don't want to take away 30
yeah.
years
I'll
or
take
30
30
pounds from.
pounds. Yeah,
But again, Pat McAfee show reference. Josh Sitton was on last season, talking about why it takes offensive linemen so long now, because the college game is so different from the pro game that going from a tackle in college to a tackle in the pros just takes 2-3 years. So I mean, to throw him in at left tackle as a rookie, being that big, I mean, do you want the franchise protected by a rookie that early?
I mean, so at Alabama, he was a right tackle, right?
Yeah.
Wells was, and Jack Conklin is coming here to play right tackle,
Yes.
right? He doesn't play left. They did say, and I believe he was the blindside tackle at Alabama. So I think that helps a lot.
Oh yeah, because Tua's left-handed. So
Yeah.
I mean, he basically played left tackle. So
Right. That's I'm not too concerned, but you look at the rest of the roster. I mean, Kendall Lamb, no, Chris Hubbard, he was the right tackle last year, right? And you're not going to convert him to left.
no. Yeah,
There's
do you
nobody
think
else.
that I mean, Trent Williams is gone. Do you think that they're done making moves with that then? Like, do you think, because I mean, we're good at center, we're good at guard,
Yeah.
we're good at the right side with Conklin. I mean, getting an offensive lineman from Tennessee from last year, I mean, we're going to run for 1,000,000 yards. Like, it's just going to happen. And we just need Wills to hold up long enough on play actions and short passes.
Which
I
hopefully
mean,
they're running more play actions this year if
God,
Stefanski's as smart as we think he is,
I mean, you've
But
got
yeah,
the best young running back in the league right now. I mean,
you have
Travis Henry's up there.
you have two of the top 10 in
Yeah.
on this team,
The saddest part about Freddie Kitchens is he could not use Kareem Hunt to save his life.
Well, he was in full blown panic mode at the time Kareem came back, though. Too, you have to think he knew that something bad was going to happen, and then something bad did happen with the Myles Garrett situation, and that just doesn't look good as a coach. So it just disaster all around. But I'm excited for
Don't
that
talk
back.
shit, and like the world's strongest man won't try to hit you in the head with your own helmet. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't
All
use
I'm
the
saying
N
is
word.
if he wanted to kill Mason Rudolph, he would have killed him. Okay.
Have you seen the off-season workouts, like where he's
Yes.
lifting houses and fucking like jumping over buildings? Like
I
he's
just like the box jump workouts. Like, good Lord, man.
yeah, like it's. I put a tweet out a while ago. It's like just sharing the workout video. It's like just put him on the field every time. Like it doesn't matter. Every play he should be on the field somewhere. I don't care what he's doing. That dude
Yeah.
is
He
bulletproof at
doesn't
this
take
point.
much off. He doesn't take many plays off.
Oh no, I want him on offense. I want him kicking the ball.
Oh,
I want him doing stuff.
you want him on every single play. Gotcha. I misunderstood.
Yes, I want him at least out there because I trust him more than the 11th player on offense. Like,
He'd be a distraction. He'd be a distraction at least. Maybe he opens up Odell if you put him out at tight end.
yeah, like throw him out there. Like, I mean, he could probably catch the ball better than Njoku right now. So
That's
fuck
what
it.
Pat McAfee show reference again, the AQ Shipley interview when they were talking about him lining up at wideout and he got triple teamed.
Yeah, because you have to assume that something's gonna
You're
happen.
just like, why is he out here? Yeah.
All right. And then like Andrew Berry. So what do we think about Andrew Berry? To me, like I keep calling him Jonah Hill, Podesta or whatever, because that's who Jonah Hill played in Moneyball. Is Berry is he doing anything? Is he I mean, I'm sure he's doing day-to-day stuff,
Yeah.
but is he just the face for like the fucking Moneyball kid?
I think he could be. He gets a lot of shit because he was in the Sashi administration, and Sashi traded away all our picks and made the Dorsey administration possible and got us a lot of talent. Reddit says Sashi sacrificed for our sins. He's basically the Jesus on Reddit.
And if the Haslams would have given him time, like he would have gotten all the credit for this.
Yeah.
Like, but the Haslams do what the Haslams do when they should be in jail, is like they just fire people before the process is done.
It's off the agenda here, but did Sashi pick Deshaun Kaiser off the top of your head?
Deshaun Kaiser was under Hugh. Yes,
it was Sashi pick.
I believe so. I think it was the last year before Dorsey.
Yeah,
because Dorsey came in the last year of Hugh. So I think I don't know.
We'll address that another episode.
Yeah, well here's what it is because Kaiser was during the defeated season, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would have been Sashi, and then they brought in John Dorsey. He picked Baker.
Yeah, you're right. It was Sashi because Sashi was fired in week 13, and Dorsey was brought in at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, that I'm sure we'll get to it at some point, but like I was at the Packers Browns game, the one that went into overtime that we almost won to not go defeated that season.
Like New Year's Eve or whatever. It was like real late in the season.
Yeah, it was real late. It was 1,000 degrees below zero. I was way drunk. And let me tell you, when you start like partying at about 8:30, 9 o'clock, it's a 1 o'clock game, goes into overtime, and you're like, hey, we might actually win this, and you're freezing your fucking balls off the entire goddamn day. And then Deshaun Kaiser throws an interception, and then the game's pretty much over. There's nothing more deflating. That's when you're like, oh, we deserve to lose every single game. Like, it's so close. But yeah, I don't know. They just need to me, with the Barry thing, they have to stick to it. Like, they can't just – they have to go with the plan. They've got the talent. They need a coach that can run it. It seems like we've got him. Give him 2 or 3 years. Like, you can't – and we're in one of the toughest divisions right now. I mean, we've got the cover of Madden against us every week. And if he holds up, I mean, he's only going to get better. Like, he's not Michael Vick. He's better than Michael Vick. Roethlisberger's falling apart anyways. So, I mean, he'll be gone soon. But, I mean, he's won Super Bowls. Like, you can't just not put him in the running. So, I mean, it's going to be tough. And you have to realize that right now you're the third in the North. And you have to give your coach a shot. Like, I don't see how you get rid of him. I don't see how you get rid of the GM either.
Yeah, I think you have to see this through for sure.
All right, we'll skip the COVID thing because, I mean, I think they had that meeting on this past Thursday, saying, because today's the 28th, they did it, I think, this past Thursday at like 7 p.m. Everybody's reporting on July 28th, so a month from today. So, I mean, I think the season's probably going to go through the COVID things. I mean, Tampa Bay's staff, a bunch of people already tested positive, and they're just quarantining them. Like, I don't think they're going to let that stop the season.
Yeah. There was something that this is in in baseball. Did you see the Texas Rangers like administration staff is refusing to report to work?
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they don't want to come in because of COVID.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
Texas
Texas
is also like
again,
the middle of
but
the virus right now.
I could see that happening with other teams though, where they can't get the backbone to play. Like the players opt in, but the rest of the staff won't. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna. I'm
They're not getting
surprised they
paid.
haven't set up like a extra roster spots for people like replacement players just in case,
Yeah.
and like an expanded budget of some sort where like they can have backup people running like equipment guys and stuff like that.
Well, that's the problem though, is you're not paying those guys enough. Like the players will opt in because they're making millions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they're football players. That's what they do. They play football. They don't care about the disease or anything. They're getting paid. But like your camera guys, your social media guys, the food stand workers, stuff like that, groundskeepers, they're not getting paid anything.
Well, if
I
there's
wouldn't.
no crowd, because I don't think there's going to be as of right now. I don't think there's going to be a
Okay,
crowd, so you don't
so
need
that,
food
that
workers.
eliminates the food people, but still, like groundskeepers and stuff like that. You have to have those.
I mean, they're football fields away. Like, and I understand like regular stuff that's going to be in an office maybe, but
Yeah,
I mean, groundskeepers will probably do it because those people love the fucking game.
yeah.
Like, I feel like there will be people who want to do it, so I think you'll be able to find somebody to do it. But it'll be
Hire
replacement
somebody.
left where it'll be like a shit show for a little bit.
Yeah,
We're almost
it'll
looking
be.
at like an XFL season. Like, it's gonna be a little clunky.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's gonna, but hopefully it goes
They
all the
should
way
just
through.
play at high school stadiums.
Yeah, well, and that's like because like Fauci came out and said like they need to do bubbles. Like he said like the only way they do it. And I mean, how do you do that with the NFL? Like there's 17 weeks. You can't have people away from people for
Yeah,
17 weeks. Where are they all going to
yeah.
practice? They can't. There's not 32 football fields in any specific
And the
area.
rosters are huge too. It's not like the NBA where there's you can limit a playoff roster to what 15 people,
Yeah.
right?
So with everybody on your team, like traveling staff, people, stuff like that, you're looking at maybe 50, 60 people for an NBA
Yeah,
team,
yeah,
where a football team, it's hundreds,
yeah,
at least 100. I mean, you've got 52 on the roster. You've got the coaching staff. You've got everybody else who wants to come. So I mean, it's going to be tough. But that leads us into 2020 preview. Again, looked it up on the 24th of June. So if it's changed, again, get a life. Don't fact check me on it because the odds have changed a little bit. So since it's the 24th, Browns, the over/under set at 8.5. We're plus 480 to win the AFC North. So if you don't know anything about gambling, to put $100 or to make $480 or if you put $100 down, you would make $480 for them winning the AFC North. Plus 108 to make the playoffs, which is good. So like if you put 100 down, you'd win 108. But why it ties into the COVID thing. All of the bets that I looked at have the asterisk of this is assuming the season happens. So like Vegas on everything else, they know everything.
yeah,
For them to say if the season happens is kind of sketchy.
yeah. I mean, they do have to cover their ass though too. But
And like I think the season happens. I think the big thing is like where they said it had to be a full season. So what that means, like if I don't know if it means if you place the bet now and then the NFL is like, hey, this will count as a full season, but we're only doing 12 games and we're starting a
yeah,
little bit later, or what that means, or if it means preseason completely because the Hall of Fame game's already canceled. Like it's
I think that the NFL would still declare a winner of the AFC North if there wasn't a full season. If they get 10 games in and if they cancel it, whoever's in the lead wins. So that would, if the Browns are there, you won. But
yeah. So do you think over on, and we will do once it's closer to the season and we see who's hurt and who's dead
yeah,
and who got the virus and whatnot, we can go through the whole schedule. But do you think over under 8.5 wins?
if everything goes accordingly as planned, the roster stays relatively the same. There is a season and nobody dies. I'm going over.
You're going
I'm going
so
9.
you think 9 wins?
I think they get 9 wins. Yeah.
Because I think my guess last season was 9-7. Like that's what I thought the record was going to be last year.
One more game. There's one more game this year though too. You got to think.
Oh,
17
fuck.
game season.
That's true. I think you got. I think, I think 9 is probably the number. So we would go with the over, but again, I mean that's assuming. I mean they say Odell's fine, Jarvis is going to be fine at a certain point. If
Yeah.
the offensive line gels, it really comes down to first year with a new staff, not a lot of reps, and all of your meetings have been on a Zoom conference. That's the biggest
Right.
thing.
Yeah. I'm saying 9 wins today. You know, at the time of this recording on June, what is it, 28th?
Yeah.
But we'll play the schedule game in like a month or so, and I'll probably have them at 12 wins. So.
I did it a while ago when the schedule came out. I forget where I ended up, but I think it was right about the 8.5. But
Yeah.
hopefully there's that. Okay, so we'll be done with that. So I think this has gone actually pretty well for not even rehearsing anything or even really going over much of a structure. So that's good.
Yeah.
We've got the player episodes coming out. The first one, we've already started the research. We've started laying it out. First episode is going to be Baker Mayfield. We're going to deep dive into college career, what brought him here. I did reach out for an interview request. We have not heard back from Baker's representation, so keep it locked in onto the social media, because if he decides to come on, we're for sure going to pimp the hell out of that, which I don't know why he would, but that'd be super cool if he did. So if Baker Mayfield, you happen to listen to this, I won't ask you about any chain restaurants, I promise you. And you can talk about all of your special stuff there. You can even talk about your wife the whole time. I don't give a shit. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, come on. Then make sure you rate, review, subscribe. Please do that. Unless you hate it, then don't do it. But 5 stars, share it. Hit the support button, even if it's $1. If 1,000 people give us $1, that's $1,000. Like that's how math works, right? Am I correct on the math? Can you check that for me, Jimmy?
I think you forgot about the taxes. We probably have to pay taxes on that, but sure.
Okay, that's true. Sorry. All right, that's on me. So I'm not. I used to be a financial representative, but I never got that far. So, we'll worry about taxes later.
Yeah.
And then make sure you go to Browns Out of Town, at Browns Out of Town on the Twitter, on the Instagram. Jimmy does a good job on that. Did you want to pimp anything else out, James?
Follow me at Beers Bourbon Barbecue. It's my
yes.
barbecue page. That's it.
Do that. That's good. That's a good follow. I was there a while ago and we were supposed to film something for my stupid social media, and we just got carried away playing Mario Kart and eating brisket. That was really good. So it's good. The recipes are good. It's a good page. whoisrayroberts.com. You can see any of my dates that are coming up after quarantine stuff's done. And if there's anything else other than that, but I don't think so. Go Browns.
That's it.
Football!